Hello.
Hello. Oh, so exciting. And welcome,
Buddy.
everyone. If you're just tuning in to AWS On Air for the first time today, please pop your questions in the chat. We're going to be looking out for it. This is an opportunity really to help you. And this section is all about startups on Spotlight. So we've got Daniel from Drata today. Sorry. And of course, AM Grobelny, who's been killing it all day today as a host.
I live on this channel. That's
Love it.
where I live. I wouldn't have it any other way. I've got nothing else. This is. I love this. I love it. Yeah, AWS On Air. We're live here at reInvent, bringing you all the great things that are happening here, including talks with our customers, which is one of my favorite areas to talk about. And Jillian, you are incredibly passionate about startups. It's like when I think of startups, I think of you. So you have brought on a lot of really great startups for us to talk to. Daniel, what's Drata all about? What's your company do?
Yeah, of course. We help companies automate their security compliance programs. So in this world of that burden of let's call it compliance, and more that's pushing down from the mid-market all the way to the startup over the past few years. And a lot of companies and founders and CXOs, they don't know where to start, and so we really help them automate that problem and try to reduce as much manual effort on that for them.
Compliance, such a simple topic.
Yeah. It's that like laborious like topic that just kind of gets put in the corner and no one wants to talk about or do, and so how do we pull that up to the front and just make it easy and help it kind of leak into the company's culture of, hey, if we do this, we can actually help the business propel.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think one of the biggest challenges too is that it's not just a technical problem, right? Like it involves tech, but you also kind of have to be a lawyer to understand a lot of what the requirements are for these complaints. We were just talking with an AWS service team that launched observability cross account, which observability, huge part of achieving certain compliances, right? So.
Definitely.
I'm stealing the floor from Jillian here. I promise you'll get the next question, Jillian. I have to ask, like, what do you see as one of the biggest challenges for obtaining? I don't know, it probably varies vastly depending on what compliance, but what is it? Is it a technology problem? Is it a people problem?
To me, I think it's more people and process. It's a thing that's where security and compliance gets put into the corner at most companies, sadly. And so the bigger you get and the more maybe successful a company gets, the bigger the problem gets, and no one wants to deal with it. Where if you start it earlier in your company's history, the easier it becomes and the more involved in the culture does it kind of breed across everything. So to me, I think that's one of the hardest challenges is now you have let's just call it, I don't know, 100, 200 person Series B type company, and you're trying to go sell to the Bank of Americas of the world, and those security teams are hitting you on the head with the compliance hammer. And so now your team's freaking out because your CRO is like hair on fire and let's go get those $1 million deal or whatever it is. And the security and engineering teams are just like, we have roadmap to hit and we're trying to secure this thing, and what's this SOC 2 thing where we have to adhere to, or a lot of the privacy laws out of Europe with GDPR as companies go international expansion over there and Europe. And so it's just trying to get ahead of it to make it easy and understandable where you don't need that expert lawyer on staff. Like, we're here to help and fill the gaps there. By no means are we your lawyer, but we can definitely break down the complexity of those frameworks for you.
Yeah, Daniel, can you explain that a little more of like how exactly Drata is able to really help people who are just starting their compliance journey?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of put it into two buckets. One is the people bucket and one is the technology bucket. The technology stuff, what we do is we wrote a tool called Autopilot. Think of like putting your compliance program on autopilot, so the word stuck. And we go out to the AWSs and GitHubs and identity providers such as Okta and hundreds of other tools. And what we do is we go off to those APIs now that maybe weren't available 15 or whatever years ago. And we go ask these APIs questions about how you have these systems configured, how are you using them? We don't really have access to the raw data, but more of the security and the configurability of them to say, hey, the people are following least practice privileges here. We know who has access. We know that they're setting up tools right, things like that. On the people side, there's some stuff that we're not going to be able to automate. There's human involvement. AM might need to go do security training to learn about phishing. I don't know, things like that. So how can we at least write a process to just make it really easy, even to the people not in compliance and security, where it's hey, I'm an employee of this company. Okay, I got to go do this thing once a year, but it's easy, it's enjoyable, it's a great experience. Like let's make it easy for the employees of these businesses to get involved and contribute, and also learn a few thing or two.
Once upon a time, Daniel, I was almost a co-founder of a startup, okay. And we did document storage for it was going to target large enterprises.
Oh yeah.
And so one of the key things was getting some compliance, as FINRA, for example, and it's really complicated, but it's actually not complicated. That's the funny thing about compliance, is that it's just a checklist, basically, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But understanding that checklist and implementing it, they ask very, interesting questions. Like,
it's really, like you said, the checklist isn't the hard part. I can go do this thing, or we can set up this process. It's about now, how do you prove
it's proving
that?
Yes.
And how do you show that to the auditor? And that, tell you the truth, is the part that everyone hates. And that was the birth story of Drata. I lived through it at my past companies. We were acquired by Instructure, the makers of Canvas, and that's a great program and security team over there. And it was like, whoa, now we're at a much bigger scale, and how do we automate this? Because I'm spending so much time manually doing this evidence collection. So that was almost the birth story of Drata, is living through that as a serial entrepreneur myself and doing it a few times. It was like, oh, I think I can automate this. And the engineering wheels started turning.
I love it. I mean, that's literally what happened to us. It was just a prove it. And oftentimes our proof would be like, AWS does this.
All the time.
Yeah, it's like, see AWS, but that's not enough most of the time for these checklists and for the lawyers that you're dealing with.
It's better than hosting it on a server in your bedroom, but yes,
correct, yes, but you still have to prove out that your code is calling the AWS API the correct way, all these mundane things that take up a lot of time, but it's key to people's business sometimes, depending. Yeah. So, real quick. I was leading into the question of, when should a company start seeking compliance?
I would say the earlier the better. We actually have companies that are literally one or two people, upwards to thousands of people. But the earlier the better. To me, again, like I said in the past, it really helps just bake it into the process and the company culture to start. And, when you're a new employee coming into this company, and that's one of the first things you do is, go to your cyber training or anything around reviewing your security policies of your businesses. It sets the stage and tone that this business cares about their customers. It cares about the security of their business and process. And it's like, okay, this is serious. That's great. Let's contribute towards this.
Wow, I think, did time just fly by? Was that already? I mean, absolutely crazy.
Such a cool product.
I mean, definitely, this is definitely something I'm sure a lot of people are piquing their interest. I know the startups I talk to, I feel like at least 60% of the customers I at least talk to are thinking about compliance at some point. So I know there's a lot of people here who definitely are probably curious of, where do I learn more? How should I go get started with Drata?
Yeah, go ahead to drata.com for more on our platform for AWS startups. Check out Drata on the AWS Marketplace. We're here to help.
Very nice. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Jillian,
thank you.
Thanks for bringing all these really cool startups.
Yeah, thank you, Jillian.
Such a cool.
Absolutely. This is so fun. Of course, stick around. We've got plenty more covered today. Launch announcements, more startups throughout the week. So stick around.
See you on the floor.
Yep.